Yo, what's up, YouTube? Today's Monday, my day off from work. As you do know, I get 3 days off from work. Tomorrow I'll be going to West Hollywood, or should I say Melrose, to see if I can change dishwasher jobs. Cause this one's funny. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Santa Monica, and there's nothing wrong with the people in Santa Monica. But when you come to work and you're supposed to have 2 times a week and you go back and forth, that's a problem. So I'm not here to talk about that because that's not what this video is for. This video is to help out men from the ages of 18 to 29. And I guess I would probably put 30 to 35, because I don't want no men in their 30s saying, hey, what about us? So I'll just include y'all in there and say 18 to 35 so it'd be simple. If you're 40, don't take it personal. Can't always include 40 because I had to put 18 to 40, and someone's 45 or 50, it'll just go on and on and on. Now, this is where we bring back some sex game videos, but it's not going to be talking about no sex. It ain't going to really be talking about getting your freak on. It's going to be talking about the job world from a man's point of view. So part 1 will be sex game job bullies. Now, if you've seen my other series, Gym Bullies, part 1 and part 2, it was a very well received series. Part 1 got a lot of views. Part 2 just got as many views as part 1. A lot of people loved Gym Bully part 1 and part 2 as I broke down in those videos that were almost 30 minutes about the good and the bad about working out in the gym environment. Well, I'm going to take that same concept and make a part 1 and a part 2, what happens in the working environment for men and for women. And today's episode is episode 1, so it'll be called Sex Game Work Bully 1, where we're going to talk about from a man's perspective how difficult it is to work in a competitive market at your job when being discriminated against and people being bullies at your job. And I'm going to name off the reasons for it. So if you're in your early 20s, mid 20s, or late 20s, or early 30s, or mid 30s, some of you might wonder, when you come to work 2 times a week, or 3 times a week, or 5 days a week, or even 7 days a week, you might want to know what's going on around the environment around me, and you might want someone to give you some insight and some experience on what you can do better to stay out of trouble, and when it may be the right time to get a new job if the nature of the situation doesn't change past 6 months or past 2 years. Because there are some rules that they don't talk about when you're in high school and college. They always want you to find this out in your late 20s, early 30s, and then you become furious that all the people you looked up to as a role model in high school and college could have told you this information, but intentionally, deliberately, on purpose wanted you to find out for your own learning experience. And when you get into your late 20s, early 30s, you'd be too busy trying to get a house, an apartment, a car, and it'd be hard for you to learn those learning experiences that they could have taught you in high school and college but didn't want to. And I'm kind of here to explain to you why that might be. Because some of you men might want an answer and you probably don't know how to ask the question to get the answer. Some of you are not sure when to ask or how to ask it, or you're afraid of the backlash of asking it. So I guess I'll be that guy to give you those 7 answers to those 7 questions. So let's get started. Alright, now, in 3 years I've had 4 jobs. Now, in those 4 years that I've had 3 jobs, I've seen a lot of stuff that would make the average man never want to get a job. And when I say never want to get a job, I mean never. Now, let's take my experience when I was working at loss prevention for 1 year and 6 months. When I first got there, they had like almost 90 people working at a clothing retail store. Almost 100 people. And I would say at least 10 out of the 90 people quit their job in the first 7 months because they couldn't take being cussed out, yelled, screamed. They had to work 5 or 6 hours without a lunch. It was close to when the store almost closed that they could have lunch. They didn't get a good night's sleep, and then they had to get up the very next day and get ready to go back to work again. And when they got less sleep, they didn't like it. Some of them were in school while working and had to quit school to commit to the job, even though the job doesn't pay a lot of money. So let's start with the guys that are from the age of 18 to 29 that are in college, taking 3 classes or 4 classes and then have a job. A lot of times what you're going to find out in the job world is that it's like fate. You know how they say it's not fair, or they say fate's not fair, fate is cruel? Well, in the job world, you find out very fast and very quickly how that is. That means if you're a man, and I'm not trying to be an asshole in this video, but if you're a man, sometimes the managers or the assistant managers or the supervisors or the assistant supervisors, they don't think you going to school is important. They think you having a job and working part-time or full-time is more important. 80 to 85% of the time, that's more important to them. Even though you say I can get a college degree, they prefer you not to, because what comes up in an argument is I don't have no college degree and I did just fine. You're going to hear that a lot. Now, is that hypocrisy? Yes, it is. Because a lot of those managers and supervisors, when they were in college, they almost got a college degree, or they attained 1 or 2 college degrees, and some might even have 3 college degrees, but they never had a chance to take that college degree to find the right job. There's no such thing of the perfect job. I would say the right job. And some might argue there's no such thing of the right job. But my point is, you be trying to get a college degree and then it just don't pan out. Now, here's where things get interesting. Let's talk about the produce. Producing, I would probably say, is your work ability. Now, men who are jealous, who discriminate, it should be based on your work performance. If you got good working performance, it should be based on that. If you got terrible working performance, then you should be criticized. You should never have to have someone be jealous because you got a leather jacket or you drive a Harley Davidson motorcycle, and people get upset because they discriminate against your clothes. Like, I'll give you an example. Let's say you try to get a job, right? As a retail clerk, cashier. And let's say you don't understand why people are messing with you. A lot of them are jealous because they don't have the money to buy basketball tennis shoes. They can't afford Michael Jordan's, Kobe's, LeBron's. They don't get to see basketball games and football games if they're working in an 8-hour shift or 10 or 15, 20-hour shift. They don't get to see their favorite television show. They don't get to see their favorite movies. And you probably get to see all your favorite television shows and movies. And when they find out you get to see these things, they're furious. Because they work 8 hours, 10, 15, 20, 25 hours. And you might only work a 3-hour or 6-hour shift. So they're already jealous. They're already envious of that. They're jealous and they're envious of that. And for you to be getting Michael Jordan's, Kobe Bryant's, they're furious. They're pissed off. If you're an alpha male and you can physically, sexually attract beautiful, attractive women, they're going to make your life a living hell. They're going to make you wish that you were never born. They're going to make you wish that you did not physically, sexually attract women. You get too many women that find you physically, sexually attractive in the job world and the working environment, you're going to become a target 99.99%. So if you get black women, white women, and Mexican women 80 to 85% of the time that find you physically, sexually attractive, and you're from the age of 18 to 29, sometimes ages 30 to 35, Don't be surprised or shocked if you come in one day and the vast majority of complaints that you get are going to be from men who are average and below average looking. Most of the time you're going to get managers, assistant managers, supervisors, and assistant supervisors who are going to have a problem with you. You know, that means your hours might get cut. You might go from working 8 hours to working 3 to 6 hours. So instead of you making $13 or $14 or $15 an hour, you might be making $10 or $11 an hour. The more they cut your hours, the less money you make. You come in there showing off leather jackets. You come in there showing off your Michael Jordans, your Kobe Bryants. You're a target. And you're a target for a specific reason. Don't be surprised or shocked if they get you for it. Now here's where the best part comes in, because I'm gonna take my wallet and do a walk and stroll so I can do the best part of the video. I'm gonna give you some more clear examples of what happens when they mess with you in the job world from a man's perspective. Didn't expect my dad to, oh boy, come back, but anyway. Dog tripping out. That's when it got cut. Alright, we'll walk down the street. Still got to do another video at the Grove. Alright, so you'll become a target. 99.99% if you're a man, you'll become a target. Now, it does not matter if you're a black man, a white man, or a Mexican man. If you physically sexually attract 80 to 85% of women in the working environment, you're going to become a target. If you go to the gym and you're in athletic shape, this is another prime example. You will become a target. And you will become a target because they do not like men who can physically sexually attract 80 to 85% of women. Because you could take those women out to lunch and dinner, you can take those women out to a cup of coffee, and they might have tried 7 or 8 times in the past 7 months to ask these women out to lunch and dinner or for a cup of coffee, and 80 to 85% of the time, men that are average and below average looking in the working environment get rejected. And here you come in, you know, you're between 5'10" to 6'4", you know, 190 to 240 pounds of muscle with big broad shoulders and six-pack abs, and you look like you play basketball and football, they're going to be jealous of you. Now, it's not supposed to be based off your clothes and the shoes that you wear, but they're going to use that because they're very petty. You got to remember, these are adults who never got no attention in high school and college. So when they become a manager or an assistant manager or a supervisor or an assistant supervisor, they get off on the power and the control of making other people feel miserable because that's what they want. They never got that attention in high school and college. And when they get into the job world, they seek that attention. They seek that validation. And you're just someone that's a target because to them, they see you get all the attention everywhere you go. You know, you got nice clothes, nice shoes, a fresh haircut. You're going to become a potential target. 99.99% of the time, you're going to become a target. And it doesn't matter if you're a black man, a white man, or a Mexican man, they're going to be jealous. Co-workers will say mean stuff to you from out of the blue. For an example, they'll probably say some crap like, so you like those Michael Jordan tennis shoes, huh? You like those Kobe's, you like those LeBrons. You might think they're paying you a nice compliment, and they probably are, but it ain't because they're giving you a nice compliment. It's because they cannot afford expensive tennis shoes. So you buy some Michael Jordans, Kobe Bryants, or some LeBrons, they're going to have an issue with that. You come in there wearing leather jackets or driving a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, they're going to be very angry and upset with you. If women always talk to you but ignore the other guys at work, they're going to take that personal. And if you ever score, and you do know what scoring is, with the girls at the workplace, they're really going to take it personal. They'll start cutting your hours. You'll go from working 8, 10, 15, 20 hours to working 3 hours, 6 hours. The more hours they cut, the less money you make. Now, they'll try to perceive it and make it seem like you think you're better than everyone else, when in reality, what you're trying to do is self-improve. Most people are too stupid and ignorant at the workplace to understand the difference between self-improvement and you think you're better than someone else. A person who thinks they're better than someone else is you trying to get over on someone, like realistically. So if you're trying to get over on someone by showing off, I got a leather jacket, I got new shoes, then you're making yourself into a target. But if you just needed some shoes because you hadn't bought no shoes in 2 years, that's self-improvement. If you got a haircut because you got complaints at work that your hair's messed up, like if you're in the restaurant industry, you have to get a haircut. Because, you know, the hair can fall into the food and, you know, customers can complain. So you have to keep your hair cut short. You have to shave. And if you get too much attention because you get the haircuts and the shaving, then at some point in the future, you might want to look for a new job. Because no matter what you say and no matter what you do, they can complain 5 times. They can complain 10, 15, 20 times. Let's talk about if you're a black man. Most of the time, you're going to be discriminated against because it's the job world. They see a black man, and unfortunately, you have some ignorant people who watch too much television, too many Hollywood movies, and they always have a stereotype inside their head. Oh, you rob banks and liquor stores, you drive up the street, and you gangbang, and you listen to rap music. And without knowing who you are as a person, as an individual, they'll stereotype you 90% of the time. It doesn't matter if you're a good person or not a good person, they're going to stereotype you anyway. And even if you're not none of the stereotypes, they're still going to stereotype you. So like, let's say for an example, they see me wear a rock and roll t-shirt. Well, I might like Korn. I might like Disturbed. They see me wear the Rock shirt. They might see me wear Levi jeans. And they see me wear a Dragon Ball Z hat. They don't know what to think. I don't follow the stereotype, but they still can't 100% trust me. So they look at me with a magnifying glass because they can't trust me. And it could take 6 months, it could take a year, it could take 2 years before they look at you in a completely different and positive light. And sometimes they don't. If you dress good, fresh shave, fresh haircut, you're always in athletic shape, they're going to always be jealous of you because they work 10 hours, 15, 20, 25 hours on a job. And if you only work 2 times a week or 3 times a week, you're going to become a target. They're going to make things uncomfortable for you because they get off on the power and the control. You got to remember, these are people that never got no attention in high school and college. So as soon as they find out that you're between 5'10" to 6'4", 190 pounds to 230 or 240 pounds with the big broad shoulders, 6-pack abs, and they think you play basketball and football, you're a target. Even if you do your job at 100% full capacity, they're still going to mess with you. There were a group of guys that I was friends with at my old job. I can't tell you the name of the store that I work at because it's under a new corporation. If any of the new or current or past employees of that store ever sees this video, not only that can hurt me moving forward, they'll find out where I work at my new job, and my new job will fire me for the same very reasons. So I cannot tell you the name of that store. I cannot tell you the names of the individuals. It's to protect their privacy. Now, it's an old story. It's like almost 2 years ago, but rules are rules. And plus, YouTube will delete the video if they think it's offensive. The point is, I know a couple of guys that were getting too much attention from the women, and a lot of the managers and supervisors did not like that. So they made this one thing uncomfortable for the guy, and the guy never recovered. You know, the guy was taking the girl out to lunch and dinner, and people in the lunchroom was talking about it, and it got back to the managers, and the managers did not like what they saw. and they did some things to him, like cut his hours or overwork him just because he was getting too much female attention. And I got a good, nice taste of it because when I started to get too much female attention, they made a prime example out of me. Now, I did do some stupid stuff that was uncalled for, that got my own self into trouble, but when I didn't do none of the stuff that was described, I still got the full-blown force of it because I was the next person that was getting too much female attention. And it didn't matter if the girl liked me or didn't like me. I come in with a nice fresh haircut, the fresh shave. They find out that I play basketball. I go to the gym and I work out. I became a target. As soon as I started buying new clothes and I started dressing up like a fashion Kevin Klein model, I became a target. And you might say that's childish. This is not high school and college. It's the job world. It shouldn't matter if someone's got a nice fresh haircut, a clean cut shave, and they got some new shoes and some new clothes. As long as they do the job that they've been asked to do, that's all that matters. If you got a strong work ethic, then criticize them on their work ethic. If they got a terrible work ethic, then you bring them in the office and say, look, your work production needs to get a lot better. It needs to get 5 times better or 7 times better. It shouldn't be based on, oh, he's got a nice haircut, he's got new shoes and new clothes. He thinks he's better than everybody at the job. And a lot of times if you feel this negative energy towards you and nobody else, that means you're being singled out. I've seen some white guys get discriminated against by other people. I've seen Mexican guys get discriminated against by other people. So normally you would say it's just black men, not anymore. I've seen some black men get put under the table. I've seen some white guys. I've seen some Latino guys get put under the table. And you know what it comes to? It comes to whoever can physically, sexually attract the most women in the working environment becomes a target. You get all these beta male men that are average to below average that cannot physically, sexually attract women to save their life. And these men become furious, and then these men make your life a living hell. So, and then the way you would leave your job is you would try to make it to the end of the year. And guess what? Some of these guys don't make it to the end of the year. Some of these guys have to get new jobs when they become available. Because if they can't make the money that they want, then you end up leaving because all they're doing is making your life complicated. The more they make your life complicated, the harder it is for you to maintain making a living. It is childish, it is petty, and trust me, they will do things to you on a job that will make you question you should have never got the job in the first place. You got to remember, these are average to below average men that don't want to see you get the same type of women that they find physically, sexually attractive. That's your first problem. Your second problem is if you go to the gym and you're in better athletic shape, that's 2 reasons why you become a target. Number 3, you get too much women's attention, so that's 3. Number 4 is you start dressing too good with new clothes and new shoes. Number 5, if they see you with the fresh haircut, that's 5 reasons why they're going to get you. Number 6 will be if you work better than everyone else, they will make it seem like, oh, his work projection is better than mine. He might take my job. He might get more hours. And then that would be the next reason why they'll mess with you. Now, in the next video, I'm going to talk about what happens to women, because I heard it is much worse for women in the job world than it is for men. Most men, they just quit and get a new job, and depending on what job they get, it either repeats itself or it doesn't. But for women, it's much worse. I know some women at my other job that had this situation. I'm going to talk about what happens if you're a black woman or a white woman or a Latina woman and this happens to you in the job world. So this video was the cover from a man's perspective of gym bullies. Not gym bullies, but work bullies. So you got work bullies in the job world. So for you guys that be from the age of 18 to 29 and from the ages of 30 to 35, don't get all happy and excited when you get hired at a job. You may never know what is waiting for you. And I have the experience to explain to you because I've had 3 jobs in 4 years. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to find out that somebody does not like you. And it doesn't matter if you said something or done something to someone. People will lie on you on a job. I've had people lie on me 5 times at two different jobs for no apparent reason. You know, not that I said or done something. There's a thin line between you do stuff to get yourself into trouble and then they do stuff to you. Now, there was another guy that I had became friends with at my last job. He himself was a loss prevention security guard. And guess what? In the time that I was there, he taught me a lot of great stuff about the job world. He explained to me the consequences of what happens if you don't do what you're asked and told. We had some fun. Problem was, people were jealous of him because he was tall, he was good looking, and this was a white guy who was in his mid-20s, like 26 or 27. The guy had a car, the guy had a girlfriend, the guy was making money, the guy was kicking ass and taking names, and the guy was teaching me how to be good at my job. And they were jealous, and they resented that, and they made his life a living hell. And when they decided to get rid of him, they made me feel very uncomfortable because they didn't like the fact that, okay, it's a tall white guy teaching another black guy how to be good. And when I saw how good he was talking to girls socially, I had to learn from him so I could be good at talking to customers. And they didn't like that. So sometimes you'll do a good job and people will undo your work. And they will undo your work for one reason and one reason only, because they just don't like you. You don't even have to be mean and nasty. Normally, if you're mean and nasty to people, that's a reason for them to get revenge on you. But you could be the most nice, most kindest person, and they just don't like you. This is why you always hear them say, even in the job world, being a nice guy or a good guy, it doesn't work. Now, I'm not saying you need to, talk back to the boss, because that'll get you fired, and then you'll be unemployed for 5 years. And it'll be almost 10 years later before you get another job. So I'm not saying by any means necessary you should talk back. What I'm saying is, don't be surprised if all the stuff that I just said in the video, it happens to you and you experience it. Now, if you go to high-class residential areas, like Santa Monica or the Grove, and this happens to you, then you have to use extreme caution. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You don't know who's there that's going to get you. You don't know who's going to target you and why. You don't have to do anything, So I hope this man's perspective video helps you out a great deal. And so, part 2, I'm going to talk about the females. I'm going to talk about what happens when women get discriminated against in the job world. Because I know there's some young women from the age of 18 to 29, and sometimes ages 30 to 35, that might experience the same thing. And like I said, I've heard it's much worse for women on a job than it is for men. See, I'm talking from a man's perspective. The reason why I'm going to do the women's video is because I've seen firsthand what they do to women who get too much attention from men. So that's why the video has to be made. So until then, peace.